Rewritten! Stephen forced himself to pick up the bundle, cradling it in his arms like a baby. He stared at it for a long while, lost, before shaking himself out of it and unlocking the bathroom door. He peeked outside, the door creaking on its hinges. The house was vacant. He didn't know where Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearlette went, but he was glad that they weren't here to ask him more questions. It was far past midnight, the darkness lurking outside the windows. It had stopped raining by now. His gaze flicked over to the kitchen, and he felt his stomach rumble hopefully. But he hardly registered the hunger at all. He barely registered anything. Only thirst seemed to be brave enough to push itself to the lead, crackling up in his throat and making him lick his lips dryly. He was still half human, he still needed food and water. And he hadn't gotten a whole lot of that under Jasper's training. She was never known as the most understanding gem. Stephen snuck across the living room into the kitchen, using one hand to get a cup and fill it under the tap. He sipped a little bit of it at first, before practically drowning in the rest, only really noticing how thirsty he was once water was available. He filled up a few more cups after that, and they were all drained in less than 5 seconds. Once he was satisfied, Stephen set the cup aside. He decided against eating. He had no time, and he was sure that even if he managed to coordinate a meal, he wouldn't be able to keep it down. His footsteps echoed eerily against the creaking floorboards as he crept towards the screen door, feeling like an intruder in his own home. He ducked outside, instantly taken into a damp and cold world. The chilling smell of rain was still there, the salty taste of the ocean lining every particle. The waves of endless dark water were flashing in the pale moonlight, the stars twinkling down innocently at him. Stephen moved down the stairs of the porch and began to walk along the edge of the looming cliff carving of obsidian where his house was dug out into. He needed to find some softer soil, but not the sand. That would wash away eventually. He could bury her at the top of the cliff near the lighthouse. The dirt there was still a little upturned from Spinell's injector attack. But he didn't want any curious gems to dig up a mound of dirt out of innocent curiosity and discover shards. So Stephen turned back into Beach City, following the edge of the boardwalk to go around rather than cutting through. The wind was whispering past his ears, ruffling his dark curly hair. It would have been chilly without his jacket, with the upcoming winter months. The dark of the night pressed in around him, hugging him in a not-so-comforting embrace. He held the bundle tighter. He couldn't believe what he was doing right now. Trying to find a place to bury the evidence. What was happening to him? Stephen! His vision burned pink, whirling around as his gem flared in a hot glow, feeling as if he had been electrified. But it was only an older, balding, plump human who was running towards him with a huge, relieved smile. His dad. I was just coming to check on you. Pearl told me you came back. His dad wrapped him into a squeezing hug, nearly smothering him as he cried, Stephen, where have you been? Stephen hastily shoved his dad away from him, snapping, Don't touch me! His dad looked confused and a little offended. He looked him up and down, seeing the pink shine that had overtaken his son's skin. Stephen, you're glowing again. Are you all right? His dad asked, reaching towards him. Stephen knew that he was remembering how he'd been glowing during the argument, and then crashing the van. No, I mean, yes, just stay away. I might hurt you, Stephen warned as he dodged backwards, almost frantic. His dad was just a human, way more fragile than Jasper had been. If Stephen's magic did anything, he might... Whoa, relax, Tubal, his dad said. I just want to know if you're okay, so... Are you okay? Where did you go? Where are you going? Stephen was itching to get as far away from him as possible, the fear only adding to the glow, which added to the fear, which added to the glow. It was a vicious cycle. He just knew that he didn't want to harm his dad, too. He couldn't stand it if anything happened to him because of Stephen. I'm okay. I just went out to the woods for a while to take a break, he replied. I'm just going back to get something I forgot. His dad looked even more concerned at that. He yelled, his hands gripping his remaining hair. You were all by yourself for 3 days in the woods? Yeah, but I'm back now. I'm fine. I just want to hurry and go get the thing. Stephen winced away as his dad tried, again, to hold on to him. I can take care of myself. Don't follow me. Don't worry about me. Don't be around me, Stephen said firmly, stepping back farther and farther until he almost had to shout for him to hear. His dad blinked in surprise, the hurt expression wrinkling over his features. All right, whatever makes you happy, he finally said, his gaze low. Thank you, he said, hoping his voice sounded neutral. Stephen turned and began to walk away, his path lit by his own pink glow. When he got to about 10 steps away, he heard his dad call after him, If anything's bothering you, you know I'm here. He tried not to respond, biting back the need to spill all the secrets to his dad, to tell what he had really done, to tell him what he was carrying. He missed being able to talk to his dad about stuff, But now, Stephen was older. He was more dangerous. He had to keep his dad safe. I love you, Shoopal. I'm glad you're back. Please don't do that again. Your old man can't take that sort of stuff. Stephen silently agreed for very different reasons. His dad watched him until he disappeared around the corner, out of sight. Stephen walked alone in the night, retracing his steps all the way through the foliage-thickened forest. It was dark under the canopy, but it was surprisingly easy for him to find out where Jasper's camp was. He guessed that might be because of the destruction of it. It was hard to miss a huge, gaping area of nothing but overturned dirt. He deliberately avoided the crater-dotted place that they had fought in. He went the long way around until he found her camp, a pile of boulders around a jutting, slanted cave, the stamped-out campfire still exactly as he left it whenever all this had started. A grief that he shouldn't be feeling wrenched inside of him, composed more of guilt than of mourning for her. In reality, he shouldn't be this sad about her death. All Jasper had done for them was cause him and his friends pain, conflict, trauma, struggle. The first thing that she did whenever she saw him was stab Garnet and give him a black eye just to throw him in space jail. She had planned to give him up to Yellow Diamond right then and there, believing that he was Rose Quartz, the presumed assassinator of Pink Diamond. Maybe it was less of what he lost and more of why he lost it. She was shattered in this bundle of towels right now because he couldn't control himself and decided, without thinking, to become a murderer in those moments whenever he hung in the sky, staring down at her trapped orange form. Stephen was staring at nothing again. He blinked, expressionless, and then turned his head to look into her cave. It was dark and small, but the soil looked just as torn up as the stuff he was walking on now. Good for digging. So Stephen ducked into Jasper's shadowy cave, using a bit of his powers to summon up a pink spike with a flattened end to scoop enough dirt out of the way. He dug for too long. Stephen had been lost in his head again, waking up from the dreamy state to find the hole at least 2 arm lengths deep. He picked up the bundle of towels and slowly lowered it inside of the hole. It lied down at the bottom, completely quiet. The gem shards didn't glow at the last second. Jasper didn't magically reform and announce that she was too tough to shatter. He almost expected her to. Almost. But she didn't. A few scoops later, and the hole was filled. Stephen stood up. He watched the small mound of dirt blankly, his mind feeling like an icy lake in a tundra. That was Jasper. She was really gone. Stephen didn't know what to do now. He felt like he should say something, but it's not like anyone was here to listen. So he just stood there, drowning in thoughts and feelings that he couldn't begin to comprehend. As he did that, Stephen wondered a lot of things about Jasper. Why she refused his help. Why she insisted on staying out here, all alone. Why she fought him to the literal death rather than admitting defeat. Why she trained her own killer, or even tolerated him long enough to show him how to punch. But no answers to his questions floated up from the dirt. It was lifeless as everything around it, never to speak or think again. Shattered. Time passed. He was far, far away from his body. He felt nothing but empty numbness. It was the morning of the next day when Stephen realized that he was still there at the makeshift grave. He had only snapped out of the trance because the slanted beams of sunlight had trickled through the cave's opening, lighting up the disturbed mound. Stephen had to leave now. He had to go to Homeworld to fix his problem so this never happens again. "I'm sorry, Jasper," Stephen told the grave, his voice sounding worn and foreign. "I know you don't care, but I'm sorry anyway." The curly-haired boy turned and walked away before he stared any longer.